115 passengers, 6 crew members, 120 unconscious people on a plane that was flying seemingly without any issues. What caused one of the most chilling aviation disasters of the 21st century? I'm John, narrator of Global Enigma, and this is the story of Helios 522, the terrifying ghost flight. It sounds like something out of a horror movie. A plane where every person on board is unconscious, including both pilots, yet it keeps flying toward its destination. As unbelievable as it seems, this terrifying case became reality in August 2005. It was summer in Europe, a time when tourists flooded airports, seeking sun-soaked vacations. To meet the high demand, dozens of small low-cost airlines popped up across the continent. One of them was Helios Airways, based in Cyprus. With just a small fleet of 3 aircraft, they operated routes all over Europe, catering to the Northern European holiday market and offering cheap tickets to sunny destinations. In its 7 years of operation, Helios had never faced a serious incident, until that fateful day. It's the early morning hours of August 14, 2005. A Helios Boeing 737 lands in Larnaca, Cyprus, after a flight from London. The pilots report an issue. A door had frozen mid-flight, and there were strange noises coming from the rear left door. While the flight crew heads off to rest, the maintenance team begins to inspect the plane. Nothing too serious, just routine checks and a few adjustments. As part of the maintenance, a mechanic performs a cabin pressurization test. One key step in this test is to switch the cabin pressurization panel from auto to manual. The door is fixed successfully, but the mechanic forgets one crucial thing: to switch the panel back to auto. A small oversight with catastrophic consequences. To understand what happened next, you first need to understand how pressurization works in modern airplanes. As an aircraft climbs, the air pressure outside decreases. Humans can't survive the thin air at cruising altitude. That's why the cabin must be pressurized. Fresh, clean air is pulled in from the outside through the engines. It's then compressed, heated, and distributed through the aircraft's air conditioning system. Without this system functioning correctly, passengers would need oxygen masks to survive. Although planes often fly at over 10,000 meters, around 33,000 feet, the interior is pressurized to simulate an altitude of no more than 2,500 meters, a safe level for breathing. In the Boeing 737 and many other jets, this process is fully automated. But only if the pressurization switch is set to auto. Morning comes in Larnaca. Flight 522 is scheduled to fly to Prague, with a brief stop in Athens. The captain is an experienced German pilot, hired for the busy summer season. His first officer is also a seasoned aviator, 51 years old. As per standard procedure, they go through their pre-flight checklists, but 3 separate times, they fail to notice that the pressurization panel is still set to manual. The aircraft takes off, but the cabin isn't pressurized. Just 5 minutes into the flight, a warning alarm sounds. It's trying to alert the pilots to a pressurization issue, but they misinterpret the warning, assuming it's something else. As the aircraft climbs past 3,600 meters, around 12,000 feet, the air becomes dangerously thin. Oxygen masks drop from the ceiling throughout the cabin. Each mask provides just a few minutes of oxygen. Normally, in a situation like this, the pilots would immediately descend to a safer altitude. But that doesn't happen. Instead, everyone on board begins to feel dizzy and nauseous, early signs of hypoxia. Hypoxia is a condition where the body and brain are deprived of oxygen. It affects your senses, your judgment, and your ability to think clearly. Worst of all, you don't even realize it's happening. Reactions slow down, decision-making becomes cloudy, and consciousness fades. By the time the aircraft reaches its cruising altitude of 10,000 meters, almost everyone on board, including the pilots, has lost consciousness. But the plane keeps flying, guided only by autopilot. Before takeoff, pilots program the entire route into the aircraft's computer, including the altitude, speed, and waypoints. So even with no one at the controls, the Boeing 737 continues along its planned path toward Athens. When it arrives at its final programmed waypoint, it begins circling in a holding pattern. For 40 minutes, air traffic controllers desperately try to contact the pilots. No response. Fearing the worst, the Greek Air Force scrambles two F-16 fighter jets to intercept the plane. As the F-16s approach, the fighter pilots try to peer into the cockpit of the Boeing. They see both pilots slumped in their seats, unresponsive. The aircraft is flying in endless loops, running on autopilot. Then, they witness something unexpected. A man enters the cockpit. Someone on board is still conscious. It's a flight attendant. The man is identified as Andreas Prodromou, a flight attendant who also held a private pilot's license. He had likely survived by using portable oxygen tanks in the cabin. Realizing the gravity of the situation, he tries to take control of the plane. But he's never flown a Boeing 737 before. And even with the oxygen tanks, his faculties are not fully intact. He attempts to use the radio, but no one hears him. Fuel runs out. First, the left engine shuts down. Then the right one. Autopilot disengages. The aircraft begins to descend slowly. Though unqualified to land the jet, Andreas manages to steer it away from Athens, likely preventing an even greater tragedy. Moments later, the plane crashes into a hillside about 40 kilometers from the capital. All 121 people on board perish. After the disaster, U.S. aviation authorities required all Boeing 737 aircraft to be equipped with two new warning lights, clearly indicating cabin pressurization problems before hypoxia sets in. In Europe, stricter maintenance protocols were enforced, and several small, unsafe airlines were shut down. The story of Helios 522 remains one of the most haunting examples of how a simple oversight can lead to catastrophe. This was the story of the ghost flight, Helios 522. A chilling reminder that even the smallest mistake can have deadly consequences at 35,000 feet. What do you think about this tragic event? Leave your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more true stories and mysteries from around the world. See you in the next video.